If you're a remote graphic designer, video editor, or content creator, or maybe you even work freelance remotely and you stay in Lagos, the Lagos State government will be taxing you soon in a bid to generate about 200 billion naira annually. My guest on the show tonight is an international journalist, and together we'll look at the rationale behind this decision and more. This is MarketSquare. My name is Oluwapelumi Awe. I'm so delighted to have you on this episode. The Lagos State government has set an ambitious target to significantly boost its internally generated revenue as part of the Lagos New Money initiatives. The aim is to propel the IGR to a staggering 5 trillion naira by unlocking an additional 2.73 trillion naira stream of revenue. The Lagos State government also announced its plan to get remote workers, freelancers, content creators, and influencers to pay tax and leverage digital solutions for enhanced revenue collection. To discuss what this means for the remote workers in Lagos State and how to prepare for this is an international journalist. Please welcome with me, Ms. Louisa Olani. Welcome to the show. So the first question is this: how has the remote working space been since after COVID-19?
Well, thank you very much for having me on your program. To go to your question, the remote working space has transformed significantly since COVID-19. Although it was initially driven by necessity, remote work now has become a permanent fixture in many industries.
Sure.
Now, in pre-pandemic, research has it that only about 10% of Nigeria's workforce experience any form of remote work. Okay. But today, companies have adopted hybrid models, offering flexibility while maintaining in-person collaboration. Again, the present economic downturn experienced in Nigeria today has further supported remote work as it is cost-effective, if you agree with me. Mm-hmm. And then technology has also advanced to support seamless communication and productivity. But again, we have the challenges like maintaining company culture, work-life balance, and managing remote, teams and all of that. These persist, but overall, the remote workspace is evolving, with employees valuing the flexibility of its kind of process and adjusting to the new normal.
Okay, so let's talk about how much an average remote worker makes in a month. Now, you could talk about people who also work for those outside the country. How much do you think an average remote worker earns per month or per gig?
Well, the price varies from individual level to organization's pay package. Okay. For example, those working for international companies often earn more due to better currency exchange rates, with salaries ranging from about $500 to $2,000 per month, or even more or less. And with the current exchange rates, what that means. Mm-hmm. But in all, it is important to note that these figures can vary widely based on the specific role, the company, and the worker's level of expertise, and again, the location in Nigeria. So I cannot just put a hang on what is what, but all of these factors are considered in the pricing.
Okay, now let's talk about the fact that we have seen so far so good the inflation figures in this year fluctuate many times. Now, the inflation figure made public by the National Bureau of Statistics for the month of September indicated that there was an increase in the inflation rate. Haven't seen a bit of an appreciation of our naira in some months past, and it indicates that the cost of living for Nigerians has significantly risen due to the difficulty in getting a liter of petrol. It's now more expensive to get one. Price of things in the market have also increased. So let's talk about how this has affected the remote space. So far, so good. Looking at what has happened from the beginning of the year.
Inflation. Of course, it has significant implications for various sectors and businesses. And it is particularly worrisome for remote workers who tend to be on their own, so to speak, when it comes to how the job is delivered to the employees. For example, my boss in India might not give a hoot if I'm battling electricity issues or if there is hiking transportation fares and all of that. So my ticket to keeping the job is to deliver optimally, for that matter. So I do go out of my way to get things done, irrespective of what Nigeria throws at me. So it's really not funny at all as we experience these things on a daily basis. Price hike, everything is happening around the country. So, of course, the rich also cry in all of this situation. So it's really a big one. And that, of course, the government should also take into consideration, because it is not all rosy as they think.
Okay, well, if you look at a graphic designer, for instance, who works remotely, most times the person will need to have his or her system powered up, and then getting fuel has been quite difficult. And also you're having that we have workspaces in Lagos, we have workspaces in Lekki, I believe. Many parts of Lekki, you have workspaces there where a person can go to his or a laptop and then wants to, buy a particular period of time. Let's say from morning, from 9 to about 2 p.m. and then maybe you pay a sum of money, and sometimes you can even subscribe every single month. And that, again, I've learned over the last couple of weeks has also increased the price people pay, the amount people pay rather, to be able to access workspaces have also increased in the last couple of weeks. And I just wanted to say that on what you've said about your boss in India and how that it doesn't really care about the cost of things here. It just wants to make sure that the work gets done. And the Lagos State government has now said that they will be taxing remote workers going forward. And it begs the question, what's the rationale behind this? Why is the government thinking in this light? Why not solve some issues with regards to fuel scarcity, with regards to insecurity, before bringing this on board? But I want to get your perspective on this. What could be the rationale behind the remote workers tax being put forward by the Lagos State government?
Well, it is obvious that every government's rationale behind tax is to increase its revenue. And you know that the Nigerian government has been exploring various ways to increase its tax revenue, particularly, as the digital and remote working sector grows. Now, with more people working remotely, especially for foreign companies, many of these workers fall outside the traditional tax structures. And then the government, wanting to ensure that everyone, including those earning income from abroad, pays their fair share of taxes. I mean, this, of course, obviously will help broaden the tax base and capture income that might otherwise go untaxed. So overall, it is looking at other means of internally generated revenue, aside depending on oil, like, Nigeria depending on oil since whenever. So basically increase in its revenue.
Yeah, I agree to the fact that the government wants to increase revenue, because we have also seen in the last couple of days how that the government has said it wants to revive the idea of having people pay 5% levy for the telcos. Now let me take that again, my throat. And I agree to the fact that the government wants to increase the revenue with regards to ensuring that there's more money to do more projects. And we've also seen the government from the beginning of the year talk about cybersecurity levy, also talk about the telecom tax there. But again, we need to talk about the fact that the government has its responsibility of making sure that the environment is safer than it is already. The government also needs to make sure that there are amenities and that a lot of things are put in place before asking people to pay more money. Because, remote workers, many of them are graduates from school, and then they want to be able to, they learned how to do graphic design in school, how to edit video using CapCut and InShot, learned how to edit audios using Adobe Audition and other app like Audacity as well, and making their money at home. And the government is saying, we're going to begin to tax you because we want to get more money to improve the way things are. But there's an argument against that, but let's spend that for now. You have it also that the government is also saying that we're going to make this happen for real. But again, talking about, we've seen Nigeria over the years finding it difficult to effectively implement ideas. How do you see the government taxing remote workers effectively? And how do you think the collection of tax can be seamless?
On that, I want to believe the government has a consensus on how it should work. But I know that at the initial stage, effectively capturing all remote workers might be very difficult, very, very difficult. This is also dependent on the policies of your kind of work or the company you work for. Myself, for example, I'm required to submit tax proof from time to time. So I need not wait for the government to compel me to do so because my bosses requires it. And fostering intergovernmental cooperation and providing clear standardized rules. Tax authorities and employers can also make the taxation of remote workers more and more efficient and less burdensome for all parties involved. So I want to believe before they come up with such ideas, they must have, crossed their T's and dot their I's.
Okay, well, the arguments online already in regards to how this will pan out, what the government would do with regards to this, how the government will be able to get the tax and make sure that remote workers pay for it. I just can't wait to see how that will play out eventually. But again, I haven't said all we have said already on the show. But one last question I think I do have for you is what do we expect? What should we expect going forward? And how should remote workers prepare for this? Because this is the first time it's happening in Nigeria, and remote workers are beginning to panic with regards to what will happen afterwards. So what should we expect, and how should we prepare for this?
Of course, like I said, I'm already used to it. Or would I say I was compelled to be used to it due to work and company policy. So for those who fall within this new tax regime, just a reminder that Lagos State has consistently led the nation in IGR, with the NBS reporting that the state generated about 651 billion naira or so in 2022 alone. So this new plan to tax remote workers is part of the ongoing efforts to sustain and build on this financial success. So I don't think they'll rest on their ass to ensure that happens. So rest assured that the officials will do anything and everything within their power to achieve this feat. Again, as government increase their digital monitoring capacities, earnings from freelance platform becomes more easily traceable. And this will push workers to comply with tax obligations. So to prepare for this, I would advise that it is of utmost importance to understand your tax bracket. Yes, for personal income tax rates in Nigeria and progressive taxes ranges from about 7% or so, depending on your income level. So understanding where your earnings fall on this scale will help you plan your tax payment. Secondly, it's also important and advisable to work with a tax professional that is familiar with both local and international tax rules. So these professionals can help ensure compliance and, open your eyes to potentially help minimize your tax burden. So, these are some of the things remote workers can consider while they prepare for this new regime.
All right, then. Ms. Louisa Oladi, thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure being on your show. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you for watching tonight. Do want to follow us across all our social media platforms on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on TikTok to get updates every time we post a video. Also, do want to let us know what you think about this task. If you are a graphic designer, you're a video editor, you work remotely, let's know how this would pan out for you. Do you think this is right in any way? Let's get your comment, and on the next episode, we're going to read your comment out and then have your views heard here live on Market Square. My name is Oluwapelumi Awe. See you on the next one.